Hello everyone. Let's continue on with our story, A Thousand Boy Kisses by Tillie Cole. We stayed quiet for a while until Arun asked, "What's that jar for? What's inside?" Pulling back my hand, I took hold of the jar and lifted it in the air. My mama has given me a new adventure, one that will last all my life. Arun's eyebrows drew down and his long blonde hair fell over his eyes. I pushed it back and he smiled his half smile as I did. All the girls at school wanted him to smile like that at them, they told me, but he only ever smiled at me. I told them none of them could have him anyway. He was my best friend and I don't want to share. Rune waved at the jar. I don't understand. Do you remember what my mama's favorite ever memories are? I've told you before. I could see Rune thinking hard, then he suddenly said, "Kisses from your papa?" I nodded my head and pulled down a pale pink cherry blossom petal from the branch hanging down by my side. I stared at the petal. They were my mama's favorite. She liked them because they didn't stay for long. She told me that the best and prettiest things never stayed around for long. She said that a cherry blossom was too beautiful to last all year. It was more special because its life was short. Like the samurai, extreme beauty, quick death. I still wasn't real sure what it all meant, but she said I would understand more the older I got. I think she was right though, because my mama wasn't that old and she was going away young. At least that's what Daddy said. Maybe that's why she liked the cherry blossom so much, because she was exactly the same. "Papiman," Rune's voice made me look up. "Am I right? Was kissing your papa's, your mama's favorite of memories?" "Yes," I answered, dropping the petal. All of the kisses she got that made her heart almost burst. Mama said that his kisses were the bestest thing in the world, because they meant he loved her so, that he cared for her, and he liked her for exactly who she was. Rune glared down at the jar and huffed. "I still don't understand, Papiman." I laughed as his lips stuck out and his face screwed up. He had pretty lips. They were really thick with a perfect cupid's bow. I opened the jar and pulled out a blank pink paper heart. I held it up in the air between me and Rune. "This is an empty kiss." I pointed to the jar. Mama gave me 1,000 to collect in my life. I put the heart back in the jar and took his hand. "A new adventure, Rune, to collect 1,000 boy kisses before I die from my soulmate." What? "Papi, I'm confused," he said, but I could hear the anger in his voice. Rune could be real moody when he wanted to be. I lifted my pen from my pocket. "When the boy I love kisses me, when it feels so special that my heart might almost burst, only the extra special kisses. I'm to write the details down on one of these hearts. It's for when I'm gray and old. I want to tell my grandbabies all about the really special kisses in my life, and the sweet boy that gave them to me." I jumped to my feet, excitement running through me. "It's what Mama wanted from me, Rune, so I have to start soon. I want to do this for her." Rune jumped to his feet too. Just then, a gust of wind blew cherry blossom petals right past where we stood. And I smiled, but Rune wasn't smiling. In fact, he looked downright mad. "You're going to kiss a boy for your jar, a special one that you love?" he asked. I nodded. 1,000 kisses, Rune. 1,000. Rune shook his head and his lips pursed again. "No!" he roared. The smile fell from my face. "What?" I asked. Rune took a step closer, shaking his head harder. "No, I don't want you kissing a boy for your jar. I won't let it happen." "But—" I tried to speak, but Rune took hold of my hand. "You're my best friend," he said, and puffed out his chest, pulling at my hand. I, I don't want you to kiss boys. "But I have to," I explained, pointing to the jar. "I had to for my adventure. 1,000 kisses is a lot, Rune. A lot. You still be my best friend. No one will ever mean more to me than you, silly thing." He stared hard at me, then at the jar. My chest hurt again. I could see he wasn't happy by the look on his face. He'd gone all moody again. I stepped closer to my best friend, and Rune's eyes fixed on mine. Poppyman, he said, his voice deeper, hard and strong. Poppyman, it means my Poppy. For infinity, forever, and always. You're my Poppy. I opened my mouth to shout back at him, to tell him this was an adventure I just had to start. But as I did, Rune leaned forward and suddenly pressed his lips to mine. I froze. I couldn't move a muscle as I felt his lips against mine. They were warm. He tasted like cinnamon. The wind blew his long hair over my cheeks. It started to tickle my nose. Rune pulled back, but his face stayed near mine. I tried to breathe, but my chest felt funny, kind of light and fluffy. And my heart was beating so fast that I pressed my hand over my chest to feel it racing underneath. Rune, I whispered. I lifted my hand to press my fingers against my lips. Rune blinked and blinked again as he watched me. I pushed my hand out and pressed my fingers against his lips. You kissed me, I whispered, stunned. Rune lifted his hand to hold mine. He lowered our joined hands by his side. I'll give you 1,000 kisses, Poppyman. All of them. No one will kiss you ever but me. My eyes widened, but my heart didn't slow down. That would be forever, Rune. To never be kissed by anyone else means we'll be together forever, and ever and ever. Rune nodded his head, then he smiled. Rune didn't smile a lot. He normally half smiled or smirked, but he should smile. He was real handsome when he did. I know, because we're forever and always, for infinity, remember? I nodded my head slowly, then tipped it to the side. You'll give me all my kisses. Enough to fill this whole jar, I asked. Rune gave me another small smile. All of them. We'll fill it up the whole jar, and more. We'll collect way more than 1,000. I gasped. I suddenly remembered the jar. I pulled back my hand so I could get my pen and open the jar lid. I snatched out a blank heart and sat down to write. Rune kneeled before me and placed his hand over mine, stopping me from writing. I looked up. Confused, he swallowed, tucked his long hair behind his ear, and asked, when I kissed you, did your heart almost burst? Was it extra special? You said only extra special kisses make it into the jar. His cheeks turned bright red, and he lowered his eyes. Without thinking, I leaned forward and wrapped my arms around my best friend's neck. I pressed my cheek to his chest, and I listened to his heart. It was beating just as fast as mine. It did, Rune. It was so special as special can be. I felt Rune small against my head. Then I pulled back. I crossed my legs and placed the paper heart on the jar lid. Rune sat cross-legged too. What will you write? He asked. I tapped the pen to my lip as I thought hard. I sat up straight and leaned forward, pressing the pen to the paper. Kiss 1. With my Rune. In the blossom grove. My heart almost burst. When I finished writing, I put the heart in the jar and closed the lid tight. I looked up at Rune, who had been watching me all along, and proudly announced, There, my very first boy kiss. Rune nodded his head, but his eyes dropped to my lips. Poppyman? Yes, I whispered. Rune reached for my hand. He started tracing patterns on the back with his fingertip. Can I kiss you again? I swallowed, feeling butterflies in my stomach. You want to kiss me again? Already? Rune nodded his head. I wanted to kiss you for a while now. And well, you're mine, and I liked it. I like kissing you. You taste it like sugar. I ate a cookie at lunch. Butter pecan. Mama's favorite, I explained. Rune took a deep breath and leaned toward me. His hair blew forward. I want to do it again. Okay. And Rune kissed me. He kissed me and kissed me and kissed me. By the end of the day, I had 4 more boy kisses in my jar. When I got home, Mama told me that my mama had gone to heaven. I ran to my bedroom as quickly as I could. I hurried to fall asleep, like she promised. Mama was there in my dreams, so I told her all about the 5 boy kisses from my room. My mama smiled big and kissed me on my cheek. I knew this would be the best adventure of my life. Rune, 2 years ago, aged 15. Silence fell as she settled herself onto the stage. Well, not everything was silent. The thunder of blood rushing through me roared in my ears as my Poppy carefully sat down. She looked beautiful in her sleeveless black dress, with her long brown hair pulled back in a bun, white bow positioned on top. Lifting the camera that was always around my neck, I brought the lens to my eye just as she positioned her bow against the string of her cello. I always loved to capture her at this moment, the moment she closed her big green eyes. The moment the most perfect expression drifted over her face, the look she wore just before the music began. The look of pure passion for the sounds that were to follow. I snapped the picture at the perfect time, and then the melody began. Lowering my camera, I focused simply on her. I couldn't take her picture while she played. I couldn't bring myself to miss any part of how she looked up on the stage. My lip hooked up in a small smile as her body began to sway to the music. She loved this piece, had been playing it for as long as I could remember. She needed no sheet music for this. Green sleeves poured from her soul through her bow. I couldn't stop staring, my heart beating like a damned drum as Poppy's lips retwitched. Her deep dimples popped out when she concentrated on the difficult passages. Her eyes remained closed, but you could tell which parts of the music she adored. Her head would tilt to the side, and a huge smile would spread on her face. People didn't understand that after all this time, she was still mine. We were only 15, but since the day I kissed her in the Blossom Grove, aged 8, there had never been anyone else. I had blinkers on to any other girl. I only saw Poppy. In my world, only she existed. And she was different to any other girl in our class. Poppy was quirky, not cool. She wasn't concerned with what people thought of her. She never had been. She played the cello because she loved it. She read books. She studied for fun. She woke at dawn just to watch the sunrise. It was why she was my everything, my forever always, because she was unique in a town full of carbon copy bimbos. She didn't want to chair or bitch or chase boys. She knew she had me just as much as I had her. We were all we needed. I shuffled on my seat as the sound of her cello became softer, Poppy bringing the piece to an end. Lifting my camera again, I snapped a final shot as Poppy raised her bow off the string, a contented expression gracing her pretty face. The sound of applause made me lower the camera. Poppy pushed the instrument off her chest and got to her feet. She gave a small bow, then scanned the auditorium. Her eyes met mine. She smiled. I thought my heart might smash through my chest. I smirked in return, pushing my long blonde hair back off my face with my fingers. A blush coated Poppy's cheeks. Then she exited the stage left, the house lights flooding the auditorium with light. Poppy had been the last to perform. She always closed the show. She was the best musician in the district for our age group. In my opinion, she outshone anyone in the 3 age groups above. I once asked her how she was able to play like she did. She simply told me that the melodies poured from her bow as easily as she breathed. I couldn't imagine having that kind of talent, but that was Poppy, the most amazing girl in the world. When the applause faded out, people began to leave the auditorium. A hand pressed on my arm. Mrs. Litchfield was wiping away a tear. She always cried when Poppy performed. Rune, sweetie, we need to get those two home. Are you okay to meet Poppy? Yes, ma'am, I replied, and quietly laughed at Ida and Savannah, Poppy's 9 and 11-year-old sisters, sleeping on their seats. They didn't much care for music, not like Poppy. Mr. Litchfield rolled his eyes and threw me a small wave, then turned to wake the girls to get them home. Mrs. Litchfield kissed me on my head, Then the four of them left. As I made my way out of the aisle, I heard whispers and giggling coming from my right. Glancing over the seats, I spotted a group of freshman girls all looking my way. I ducked my head, ignoring their stares. It happened a lot. I had no idea why so many of them paid me so much attention. I'd been with Poppy for as long as they'd known me. I didn't want anyone else. I wish they'd stop trying to get me away from my girl. Nothing would ever do that. I pushed through the exit and made my way to the backstage door. The air was thick and humid, causing my black t-shirt to stick to my chest. My black jeans and black top boots were probably too warm for this spring heat, but I wore this style of clothing every day, whatever the weather. Seeing the performers begin to pile out the door, I leaned against the wall of the auditorium, resting my foot against the white painted brick. I crossed my arms over my chest, only unfolding them to rake my hair from my eyes. I watched the performers getting hugs from their families, then catching the same girls from before staring at me. Lowered my eyes to the ground. I didn't want them to come over. I had nothing to say to them. My eyes were still cast down when I heard footsteps coming my way. I looked up just as Poppy threw herself onto my chest, her arms wrapping around my back, squeezing me tightly. I huffed a short laugh and held her right back. I was already 6 feet tall, so I towered over Poppy's 5 feet. I liked it though, how she fit perfectly against me. Inhaling deeply, I took in the sugary sweet scent of her perfume and pressed my cheek against her head. After one last squeeze, Poppy pulled back and smiled up at me. Her green eyes looked huge under her mascara and light makeup, her lips pink and lush from her cherry lip balm. I skirted my hand up her sides, stopping when they cupped her soft cheeks. Poppy's lashes fluttered, making her look all kinds of sweet. Unable to resist feeling her lips on mine, I slowly leaned forward, almost smiling as I heard that same hitch of breath Poppy expelled every single time I kissed her. In that moment, just before our lips touched. As our lips met, I exhaled through my nose. Poppy always tasted like this, so cherry. The taste from her lip balm flooding my mouth, and Poppy kissed me right back, her small hands gripping tightly to the sides of my black shirt. I worked my mouth against hers, slowly and softly, until I finally pulled back, laying 3 short, feather-like kisses on her swollen mouth. I took in a breath and watched Poppy's eyes flutter open.